Okay, on this tutorial we'll be actually getting the rest of this Honda setup going and getting ready to edit. So what we already have done is create a project. The project is made up of 4 bins in this case: Honda Cuts, Graphics, Music, and then the Honda 720, which is basically my Honda clips. I created a bin and I embedded it over here, gone through each clip and updated the thumbnails. Okay, so now I'm ready to continue on. Now, the most important thing about working in Premiere is that the first image, the first picture image that you drag into the timeline, notice it says drop media here to create a sequence, and you have to drag and drop something in here to get this started. Or that's the easiest way to do it. So the frame size, the frame speed, if you have multiple clips that have multiple settings and frame rates and frame sizes, which is quite common today, that, you know, on most projects you may run into mixed media, which means that you might have stuff shot on the GoPro, you might have some stuff shot on the iPhone that someone gave you, you might have stuff that you can lift from the internet, and then you might have stuff that's shot by a professional camera that's, you know, 4K, 6K, whatever, large file formats. And then you can have old archival stuff. So it's a real mismatch of stuff. So the important thing is to know that the first image drag on the timeline. Now you can change it after the fact, but it's generally, even if it's not exactly the first shot, it'll be the first one to establish the parameters of the project you're doing. In our case, you're lucky because they're all the same size, all the same thing, so it doesn't matter which one you bring down. But for sake of this exercise, if I double click on any clip here on the left side in my bin setup, it will load up into the source window, okay? So you can get a bigger view of it. Because I have marked it in, it jumps there immediately. But anyway, if I grab this little blue playhead on the bottom, because this is all digital, it's non-linear, I can zing back and forth and see the entire clip. I don't need to drag to the beginning to get to the first frame. I click at the first frame and I get there. Click in the middle, and anywhere else it jumps there. So don't get into the habit of trying to drag it unless you really need to see it. So in this case, to do my first edit, I'm going to drag this so that I see the license plate roughly in the center of the frame. I'm going to mark this frame as my start point of this clip, my in point. Think of the letter in, or the word in, and you think of the letter I. So I hit the letter I, and it puts an in mark. And then, for now, I'm going to just grab till I see the front wheel. I have to out, hit the letter O, and marks it out. Notice that I've now selected only a portion of the entire clip, and that portion is between the in and out mark. So when I do, and I grab more than I need, of course, in this case, I'm going to drag this to get the thing started. I'm going to drag this straight down and just let go in this window down here. Multiple things happen. One, it puts that specific clip, license plate, if I drag this playhead to that front tire, okay? So that's one thing. It puts a graphical bar in my timeline. And notice that it has a V1, which is video track. There's no audio, so it only dropped in the video. Over here on the upper right is what we call the program window. And this actually is a representation of what's on the timeline. Now you say, but isn't that the same thing as what we just did here? Yes and no, but it's a copy of it. So whatever we do to this right side, which is exact same thing as the timeline is a graphical representation of what you see visually up here. We can change it, we can change the speed, we can change the color, we can change the size of it, we can do all sorts of things. It will not affect the original clip. We can always go back to the original to get the original, okay? So it's what we call non-destructive editing. It does not destroy this. When I say cut and trim something down, it's not like you cut it and then you throw it in the garbage, you never get it again. You can always go back to the original source. Where does the source come from? Comes from the bin. So in this way, it's a left to right workflow. We start in here, And then we go to the middle, and then we go to the right as we choose and select things from the source to lay into the main program on the right. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing we want to do, now that we have our picture, we say, but what is this size, this frame, and all that? If you go up to the top here, there's the menu bar at the top, and you have File, Edit, Clip, Sequence, Markers, Graphics, View, Window, Help. I click on Sequence, and there is something called Sequence Settings. So what is a sequence? A sequence is the putting together all the individual clips. Then why do I call it a cut? Well, because sequence has too many letters, cut has fewer letters. So even when I create this bin down here, it says Honda Cuts. It took less time, less keystrokes than to write the word sequence. In fact, even to say sequence is 2 syllables. Cuts is 1 syllable. That's the kind of efficiency I need you guys to start thinking about. Okay, so anyway, sequence settings. They're synonymous, means they mean the same thing as a cut. The time base is 2997 frames per second, which is your standard interlace speed. The frame size is 1280 by 720 pixels, 1280 wide, 720 high, gives you an aspect ratio of 16 wide to 9 high. All right, it's square pixels, and it goes through all the stuff. The audio is there, whether we have audio or not. It's previews and all that. So, okay, this just tells you what it is that we've just created. Can we change that? Yes, we can change that. But in this case, let's not do that yet because we don't know enough how to fix things. Okay, so I put the first picture down, first edit down. Notice that if I try to grab this blue line anywhere else but up here where the numbers are, you cannot change it. You can't grab it. You have to grab it up here where the numbers are. Okay, the numbers represent time, seconds, and frames. And this little counter here will click on down. So how long is this first clip? It's roughly going to be about 10 seconds. There, 10:07. Okay, 10 seconds and 7 frames. How many frames per second? 30. All right. Now, over here in the project bin, we have this thing called Honda One. It has a new little icon. It looks like a bunch of little lines with a toothpick through it. Well, the little lines, horizontal lines, are your layers here, video and audio, and the toothpick is your playhead. So there it is. So it's called Honda One. Why? Because it was the first clip we dragged down was Honda One. But I don't want that because that's confusing. This is Honda One. The clip versus Honda One, the sequence, no. So remember, click on the name, turns it light blue. I'm going to call this Honda _cut 1, _ my last name. So get in the habit of always renaming things once you create them so that you can keep track of it. It updates the name here, and then up here in the tab of the timeline, it does say Honda Cut 1 Louis. Grab this layer here and drag it and touch the word Honda Cuts, let go, and now I put it in the correct folder, the correct bin. Again, 2 names for the same thing, folder and bins. Get used to it. Okay, so open up music, double click on Honda Music, and then we see the music file load into the source clip. Now I didn't have drag from here because I didn't have this open, but same idea, left side to the source window. Notice these 2 caterpillar furry things. The little spiky things is what we call a waveform. They're graphical representation of music and sound and words. It starts off very skinny, gets really fat, in fact gets fatter and fatter, and then at the end it tapers down again. And you have the top one and the bottom, they look exactly the same, but not exactly because, as you can see, this is the left channel, this is the right channel, it's a stereo file, okay? And when I hit the space bar to play it, you will hear it.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet. 6 cylinders, 6 carbs, 1,520 cc's. Only one motorcycle in the world can cruise like this. The Valkyrie from Honda.
Okay, So that's our 30-second commercial. It's a finished audio track, and all you're going to do is put that down to make a 30-second commercial. Now, notice there's a little extra at the end. I give that so they can fade out completely. That's why down here, the white number 3018 is 30 seconds, 18 frames. Okay. The blue number on the left is where you are within that 3018. When I move this back, I'm at 1617. Now it's at 7. And then I go to the very beginning. It's at essentially at 0. There it is. Okay. So that's what the difference between the left side, same thing down here. If there's a mark, if there's an in and out, it will give you that duration. That's what this right side, in-out duration says. Okay, so there's our music file. Now, down here, I'm going to make the edit and bring that down. I prefer you not drag and drop things with your mouse. We're going to learn to edit correctly. Other than the very first edit, that was dragged on necessity. Here, down here, you can see there's A1 standing by itself on the left side vertical column here. And on the right side, we have V1, A1, A2, A3. Now we're going to keep this simple. A1 lines up to A1 out of just the way by default. The A1 on the left is whatever is in the left window here. If I load a picture edit, which has no sound, you can notice it just says V1. And notice it jumped up to V2. Why? I don't know, but I can just click and drag it back down so it lines up V1 to V1. So in other words, the left side is whatever is in the left window. The right side is whatever is on the right window. So when I load that music file again, by double clicking on it, it says this is A1. I could put this all the way down to A3, but no, let's leave it at A1 because that's the only audio edit you will need to make. So now that it's lined up, I make sure, I double click on Honda Valkyrie, make sure that I bang this to the very first 0 frame at the very beginning, so I'm not starting halfway into the song or the audio file. And then here, I will make sure also I bang it against the left wall here, get to the 0, also, so everything starts the same place. To make this edit go across by using my keyboard, the button you hit is the period, which is the button to 2 buttons to the right of letter M on your bottom row of your keyboard. When I hit the period, it will make this edit. You go, whoa, what happened? I lost my picture. It's all gone. It wiped it out. No. We're at the end. The playhead goes to the end of the last edit. Why does that? It's someone decided that. I think it's a silly idea because now I got to go all the way to the beginning. Okay, but it just shows you where it is. So I can, remember, you don't have to drag it all the way to the beginning. Up here, because I can't see the beginning here, I'll go to this timeline up here underneath this program and click near the beginning and it just jumps it back. So now you can see that there's the picture separate and the sound is separate.
It's the most.
Okay, so at the end here, the picture goes away. So if there's nothing here, there's no picture, but the sound continues. Okay, so picture and sound are separate. And you say, well, I want to see the whole thing. How come I don't see the whole thing? Well, to see the whole thing, you will have to hit the backslash, and that will then fit the whole sequence into this timeline window. Okay, we've made our first edit. Now, to make another edit, we have to pick a different shot. But before we pick a different shot, let's figure out where the new shot will go in. So I'm starting with this slow review. The music changes dramatically right around there. Hear that? If I roll this, go back, I'm trying to find right before that sound hits. Well, can I look at, what's these little lumps here? Okay, I gotta make that look a little bit bigger. It's called your waveform. Notice I'm on A1, and this blank space to the right of this gray microphone is a blank space. It's actually a button. If you double click right in here, it will expand my timeline. Oh, okay, now I can see it better. Can I actually see that sound hit? Yeah, it's right about right there, okay? So to get more accurate, the mouse is not that accurate for this purpose. Look at your left arrow and right arrow. Left arrow 1 frame back, right arrow 1 frame forward, and listen. There's the noise, 1 frame or 2 right before. Always try to lead your picture before. So right here is a big crash sound. I call it kind of like a tearing sound. I'm going to mark this as my new in point on my timeline where the next shot will come in. Okay? Now, notice I have more of this motorcycle shot, but I'm going to just, that was purposely there so I have something to work with. I will now pick my second shot. I want something completely different than this interior, slow, steady tracking shot. So let's just say I want to use something more aggressive. I load Honda 14 in, double click on that, and I know that this point where it comes in blasting from the right. Okay. There's a couple takes of this, by the way. There's 4 takes. Here's the beginning. Sorry, I didn't start beginning. Boom. Ooh, I like that. That's even more aggressive. So by moving my left and right arrow, I want right as the tire first frame in, let's say, or first right there, right before it comes in. Again, I'm marking the in point here. And let's say I take this whole shot to somewhere around there when he exits the frame. Mark an out, in and out. So I've made a duration of this shot more than I need. It says it's 2 seconds, 29 frames, just shy of 3 seconds. And all I need to do is words that come in on my timeline. So again, left window goes to right window. Left window, I designate it in and out mark to designate. I don't bring the whole shot in. That's way too much waste of time. But I designate from left side to right side. Where on the right side does it come in? I mark an in point on the timeline. It's going to transfer this from the left side to the right side when I hit the period. There. So now, let's play this from beginning.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet.
Okay. Does that feel right for you? It feels okay. Can I change that? Yeah. How do I undo that? Command Z undoes it. It goes back to the state where I was right before. The in and out is still correct. The in point is still here. I'm going to go 2 frames earlier on the timeline. So I make sure I click on the timeline, hit the left arrow 1, 2, mark a new in point here. You can only have 1 in point and only 1 out point. Now I don't need to mark an out point because the duration is determined by what I've marked on the left window here. So it only brings in that much. So what I'm trying to say, it only needs 3 marks, however you want to do it. I can mark an in and out on my timeline. Then all I need is the in mark or an out mark from the source. 3 marks is all that's required to make an edit. Okay, you don't have to, the computer figures out the 4th. Let's make the edit, see if that's any better. For some reason, for me, I like that a little better.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet.
Okay, so what's this? Oh, that's the leftover from Honda 1. Okay, I'm not worried about it. So I'm building on top of what I'm doing and just overlapping it. And notice that when I do make the edit, it covers up what was there. This is called an overwrite edit. It overwrites what's there. I don't have to worry about it.
It's the most.
It's the most. And I'm going to mark an in. And then he's going to say powerful.
Powerful custom on the planet.
Okay. Okay, let's just assume I'm going to do it different now. I'm going to mark it in and out on my timeline.
It's the most.
I'm going to get right before he says powerful, in and out. So now I have a set duration. Okay? So again, I need another shot. I'm going to find something powerful looking. Ooh, I like this furry stuff. It's so powerful, it doesn't stand still, maybe is what I'm trying to say. Mark an in here. I only need to mark an in because I already got 2 marks in and out my timeline. All I need is the in. I hit the period again, put it down. Now I have 3 edits.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet. 6-cylinder.
Okay. All right, that goes too long. So anyway,
It's the most powerful custom.
I think that's enough. Make very short edits, okay? I want a lot of short edits, okay? So I'll leave it up to you, however you want to tell your visual story, and then we'll go from there. Okay, but this is basic editing. Mark, load the shot into the source viewer. Decide which part of the shot you want to use. Mark an in point. Okay? Then you mark in, and if you want to, you mark an out. Mainly, you want otherwise you just bring every shot in the whole clip. It gets really messy on the timeline. I want you to restrict it. Okay? Knowing that most shots should be less than a second. So I got almost 2 seconds here. Arbitrary. You can always fix it later.
Powerful custom on the planet.
Then mark an in point based on what he's saying, and then just hit the period.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet. 6 cylinders.
Okay. So we'll go over what is the rest of the stuff, but this is good enough to get you started. We did the sound. We don't touch the sound anymore. We're just adding pictures, and your whole job is to fill the 30 seconds of this commercial. Okay? All right, we'll save that and jump to the next one.